Hi everybody, Chef Bud with the Benny Keith Culinary Resource Team. I'm here today with our business development associate Ethan Williams. Chef Ethan and I have got some great ideas for you with our new Bellacibo pasta line. And we've got a myriad of things to go through, but I want to talk a little bit about pasta preparation. And we appreciate you coming by to visit with us about this at our Benny Keith Virtual Food Show. Ethan and I have cooked off some pasta today, and there's a whole lot of ways that people do pasta. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely.
And there's a whole lot of ways that people store pasta. But what we want to talk to you today about is how to cook it properly. So I think one of the biggest things that people do, and correct me if you disagree with this, but I think one of the things that people do really bad is they don't use enough water.
Correct, yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is to get the pasta completely covered in the water, correct?
Yeah, like 2 inches above.
2 inches above. Rolling boil.
Correct.
Is what I usually go with. And then here's one of the biggest misconceptions of pasta, is after we've cooked it, I'm kind of an al dente guy because the majority of our dishes it's going to continue to cook, correct? The stuff we did today, obviously there's a saute part to it most of the time. But also when you're putting it in an oven, you're still going to cook. Now, one of the biggest things is rinsing pasta, okay? I'm a rinser. I get a lot of the folks that, especially the old Italians, they're like, we do not rinse, okay?
Sure.
But I feel that you have to get the majority of the starch off. And the reason for that is
Sticks together, gets mushy.
Mushy pasta, and that's what we're trying to avoid, is it sticking when you're getting ready to use it. I have so many operators that when I go out to speak to them and we talk about pasta, they always say, our pasta's always clumping together. It's because they're not rinsing it. Now, I'm a rinse guy. I'll take it out, put it into a colander, rinse it with cold water. You have a technique that you use today that I like.
Yeah, I go from the pot into the colander and then into an ice bath, which is just ice and water, which completely stops the cooking process, so you keep that al dente.
Yes, and I think one of the things that's really good about that process is what you just said about the cooking. Is stopping the cooking process. And I think a lot of times people get in trouble because the pasta continues to cook because they don't get rinsed up, and then what happens? Turns into mush over pasta. So at that point, then we both are in agreement in the storage process to coat your pasta or toss it in some oil.
Correct.
And a lot of times what I see people do is they'll take pasta, they'll cook it, they'll rinse it, and then they'll put it into a pan or a storage container of some kind and put water in it.
Yeah.
And the problem with the water is as it sets, it begins to deteriorate.
Yeah.
Even though it may not clump,
right.
It's going to get real mushy, correct?
You end up losing like a third or fourth of your pasta just on the bottom of the water.
Right. And I also think it's hard to get it back, like reconstituted to use, because it does start to deteriorate.
Yeah, so when I pull mine out from the colander and put it into my dish, I usually take a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of olive oil and just lightly coat it, put some plastic wrap and you're good to go.
That's exactly, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think one of the things too is don't be confused about how much oil you need. You don't need a lot, but you do need to coat it because that's just how. Now, one thing I do want to talk about that really doesn't have anything to do with our great Bellacibo problem, but it's something that is pasta helpful. Pasta water. Now, I'm a keeper of pasta water, not all of it, but a keeper of it. And tell everybody why we use pasta water.
Because when you're going to put the pasta back in the dish, you want a little bit to thin it out, but you don't want to lose the flavor and everything.
Exactly, and there's a lot of flavor in the water.
Correct.
From the pasta. And the other thing too is you have some starch buildup.
So it's a thickening agent.
It's a thickening agent as well. And I really encourage you when you cook pasta, save some of the water back. You don't have to keep the whole pot, but save some back because it does help a lot. And it's one of those things where I love the Bellacibo brand because I think it's one of those high quality pastas that can create whatever dish you want. But I also think one of the things is you have to kind of stay true to how pasta's done. And if you look to Italy and you look to the places where pasta's done right, a lot of the things that we've kind of Americanized is the rinsing, the storing, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I think one of the things that stays true is this pasta water. So I encourage people to do that. I don't think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people just toss it.
They don't. If you just keep a little 6-pan by your saute station.
And it doesn't matter if you're a big restaurant or mom and pop. Yeah. I mean, anybody can use it because it's got value to it. So we put some dishes together, and we're going to go through. We have a whole gambit of pasta types of pasta. And one of the things that I'm a big fan of is farfalle pasta, and which is butterfly, is what everybody calls it around here. Or not, I'm sorry, not butterfly, bow tie. But it means butterfly. So what's good about that is when you make yourself a little dish and you take it out to your customer, you say, for you, my little butterfly. See, it works out perfectly. And then we have penny pasta, which is another pasta that I use a lot. And the reason I use those is real simple, is they're a hearty pasta. They will hold up.
Right.
They will give you a lot of volume. Okay. They're also, especially in a smaller operation, they're going to hold longer throughout the day. Correct.
Right. And I've got my favorite over here, the cavatappi. I really like it for macaronis and stuff. It has nice grooves to it that really hold that sauce. Kind of back to the olive oil again. Don't put too much oil on there, or your sauce won't actually bind to the pasta.
Very good point. And that's one of the things where, when you're talking about 2 tablespoons, I think that's one of the things to really keep in mind is, and I'm glad you said that, you want the sauce to adhere to the pasta.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of times we have the same thing going on kind of here. You know, we put some dishes together. We made a cheese sauce for this, so you can see how it really holds. Another pasta that we have in this line is the shell.
Right.
And I'll tell you what's happened, folks, is mac and cheese is so big.
Oh yeah.
It's big everywhere. And your different cheeses that you can use, your Asiagos, your smoked Goudas, smoked cheddar, whatever the case may be, whatever cheese or cheese sauce or bechamel you're making to make into a sauce, one of the things that you really need to think about is what are we going to put the sauce on? And to your point, the grooves in this give you a nice place for the sauce to adhere. Same thing with shells. I know you like shells too, right?
I love shells.
I'm more of a, I'll tell you, and we have the actual macaroni, the elbow macaroni in the Bellacibo, and it's great. But to kind of upgrade your dish or be a little different, I think either one of those two work really well. Then we have the linguine, we have angel hair spaghetti. I don't know, I use a lot of linguine, probably more than I do. I like angel hair.
I do too.
And the only thing, angel hair is good for a real light dish.
Yeah.
You know, shrimp goes really well on it, maybe a piece of fish. I mean,
The butter sauce.
butter sauce, yeah. It's a great side for one thing, but the thing about angel hair is that it is so delicate that a lot of times I think when the process isn't right, it may get a little overcooked. So when you look at our line of pastas, everything you could ever want is there. What you really need to look at is what works for your operation. And when you look at high-end, mom and pop, whatever the case may be, there's an application for all of these in there. But I think one of the things is figuring out what works for you. So let's look at this for a minute. If you're doing some place where you're having a pasta bar, what would you use?
I would use penne, shells, you know, your farfalle right there. They hold up well on a bar.
Exactly the point. The point is, how will it hold up? How, you know, you start getting into the long strands, you're going to get a lot of breakage, and that's what you don't want. The other thing too is, I think you hit on this earlier, I think one of the things that make pasta hard to deal with is a lot of it kind of has to set for a period of time.
Very true.
So reheating pasta is a big thing. And I have, you know, tons of operators that do reheat pasta for an order. And I encourage you to find a method, whether it be simple, you know, a china cap into hot water, or they have pasta, you know, stuff you can reheat pasta with. Or what do they call it? I think they're pasta containers, aren't they? Just sit on the side, and it'll come back out. So anyways, I think reheating is important when you do the dish, correct?
Oh, exactly.
Would you agree? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about a little about what we put together here, okay? So we got the salmon that's basically been seared.
Yeah, just seared, a little seasoning on top. Under that we've got some asparagus, and then we've got the farfalle under there.
I think it's a great way to do a salmon dish. A little butter over the top, you got a great product there. And then we got a shrimp that we did.
Yeah, so we've got the linguine on the bottom, just sauteed the shrimp with a little butter and some of our Cajun seasoning. And then over the top's just really simple cream and cheese sauce.
And some roasted red,
roasted red bell pepper.
So one of the things, not saying repeat, but one of the things that you really need to look at when you're doing any kind of pasta is color breaks.
Yeah.
You have to have a color break because otherwise you're dealing with white.
Yeah, it just runs together.
Right. So a lot of times you do like a mac and cheese, or you know what I do a lot with mac and cheese is do a candied bacon or something. Bits on top. Boom. Okay. Adding anything like that will give the color. Fresh parsley. Yeah. So it gives you an opportunity across the board with our products to expand how your food looks, and also, you know, it's very profitable. So that's the thing with pasta is, I was so excited when we got the Bellacibo brand for one reason. It allows us to have a brand to give to you on a daily basis that will not only make you money, but give you multiple applications, and also, more importantly than that, give you something different. And that's why when we talk about the mac and cheeses, using different pastas is a big thing. Now, we also used our Bellacibo Parmesan in this, okay? Great product, high-end product. Like Chef Ethan was saying, one of the things that, I mean, is a standard is butter, cream, and Parmesan.
Yeah,
And
what's nice about this bag is you can use it in your cooking applications, your finishing applications. If you're a pizza place,
yeah.
set it on your table.
Meatball sandwiches, throw them on top.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing about this Parm cheese is it's one of those things that, like Chef Ethan said, you can do a lot of things with it. So don't just limit yourself to a pasta concept or
Right.
because I think a lot of the sauces I do, we use Parm in. A lot of the cheese mixtures over the tops, like you talked about. Heck, you can toss French fries in it. It's good.
Okay.
I mean, there's really nothing you can't do with it. Parmesan truffle fries, fabulous. And I want to go back to a point that Ethan made that I think is really important. A lot of times in our operations, we're not using a fresh product. Maybe we don't have a lot of fresh, whatever herbs of whatever kind. But that's why parsley is so important. Chop a little bit of that, you get a good color break, and you add some freshness to it. Green will always mean fresh, right? So when we go back through this, and the one thing that I always want folks to know is you're going to get 2 bags in a case. So you get a lot of pasta, a lot of bang for the buck, for one thing. And the other thing about it is the storage of these are so easy because of the bags. You're not buying, you can pull them out, put them on your shelf, and you don't have several boxes of pasta in there. Whatever works for your operation is what's important. Whatever works for you and your operation is what you need to look at. So as you go forward, please look at our Bellacibo line. Look at it from top to bottom because there is something for everybody in there. And the other thing with Bellacibo is you're doing something with a brand that is yours. It's not like, not everybody has it. We have it, and it's something that's going to separate you from the competition. So I hope this gave you a little bit of information. Let's real fast recap. We're going to hot boiling water. We're going to throw the pasta in. We're going to pull the pasta out. We're going to rinse it. In your case, we're going to use the ice bath.
Yep.
And in my case, I'll probably start going to the ice bath. This seems like a good idea. And it seems like it'll work better. Anyways, but the big thing is get the starch off of it. Okay. Then you're going to pull it out. You're going to put, like we said, 2 tablespoons of olive oil or oil. Just toss it and then store it. So, anyways, I hope this was helpful. Thanks for stopping by our booth. We will see you again soon. And thank you again for being a Benny Keith customer. As always, enjoy.